Thank you very much to the voice of Ryan Treasure, who's been getting me on the air so many years I can't even remember how long. I'm Bonnie D. Happy to be here, and I have an interesting intro for you. By the way, this is my 11th annual Crystal Ball, so let's get started. Welcome to Technology Revolutions. Crystal ball bright, gazing into. I want everybody to gaze. Let me see your gazing into 2026. Oh, Tom, that's good. And beyond in an optimistic light. Yes, we are. Bonnie D and her Scarlett mics live streaming Hue. You see the hue? Bring savvy visionary futurist predictions to you see you're all now capital V visionary, capital F futurist. Brenna, add that to your business card. Innovation is their compass, opportunities their sail. That's SAIL. Will their visions triumph or might some derail? Well, we hope not. First, let's look at the year just done. New words and phrases in the lexicon. You know what that is. Some serious and some fun. Dictionary.com's 6-7 proved nonsense can thrive. Biohack joined Oxford's words for 2025. Merriam-Webster's slop is for low-quality stuff galore. Vibe check, GOAT, greatest of all time. GRWM, get ready with me. IYKYK, if you know, you know. Spill the tea, added more. Now, 6-7 tops Lake Superior State University's 50th annual banished words list, along with demure, incentivize, perfect, my bad, reach out, and all we can say is please cease and desist. Now, today's visionaries, a brilliant force, who else would I have on my show, unveil their predictions, charting tomorrow's course. Sharper than Van Halen's blazing guitar riff. Anybody want to pretend to play guitar? They'll each take the mic, smart, fierce, and totally terrific. So raise your Java, your Jack, your Dom, or your Earl, whatever you got left over if there's any bubbly. And 2026 Crystal Ball Special number 3, the future is about to unfurl. I want to welcome my wonderful panelists. Thank you for joining me. Show's over. No, let's go. Tom, you're first. I'm going to read an intro to you, and then I'm going to put you on speaker view, and let's hear your predictions. So, Tom Madonna knows the auto game well, from factory floor to where the end users dwell. At SAP, he drives bold insights with flair. Tom, look like flair. Come on, let me see the. There we go. Transforming the future with analytic care. Tech, process, profit. He aligns each gear with global travel, fine wine, and fishing near. Decades of wisdom in digital delight. Tom helps tomorrow's roads run perfectly right. Tom, I hope you enjoyed that. There you go, another winner. Tom, I'm putting you on speaker view. Why don't you share your predictions with us? Go.
So I'm going to take a prediction that I did a couple years back, and I'm going to expand upon it. So 2 years back, I said the prediction is by the time we hit this period of time, we'd have the flying car taxis. And my prediction is they'll be mainstreamed across 25 cities by the end of next year. At this point in time, I see 2 cities currently using, so we're going to expand it upon 3. So that's first prediction. Second prediction is more of something that's happened on a real by real basis. That is AI actually doing development. So right now we are getting through processes that are of 85% efficiencies and effectivity on code development using AI. So this would be basically taking one object and taking an hour to do it versus all day to do it. So as you start to think about what's going to be out there, what AI could do, the effectivity that could be managed, et cetera, I expect that the developers will start to move upstream in regards to that and also become more efficient in their effectivity by the end of the year, end of this year. At this point in time, we're seeing 85% internally. And third, and I'll go even farther in this in regards to Zook and other autonomous vehicles, just because you love the topic. I will say that they will be on the highway doing highway moving in 2 states by end of this year and across the board, having to have some sort of administration on dot by the end of next year.
Can you tell us which 2 states those will be, maybe, Tom?
One is red and one is blue. So this it's not going to go into politics.
No,
but
we don't do that here.
There's one of each.
Interesting. And Tom, what are you driving now? I know I've had you on my Cool Dude show, and I think you've had 30 or 40 cars in your lifetime.
So 42 became 44 over the last quarter. So I traded in both Lincolns. I got 2 700H LX Lexuses. So at this point in time, one's the luxury for my wife, and mine's the off-road. So I've got the big wheels on it, and she's got the highway wheels on the other. And being such a bleeding edge on the car stuff, we got them home, and we have two aged dogs of the number of pack that we run. At this point in time, I won't go into the numbers we have, but let's put it this way: there's more than 20 legs running around this house. And they didn't fit in those two vehicles, so we went out and bought another vehicle. So I bought a certified used Mini, and the new license plate on it came before Christmas. Dog car. So lab cab was not available, so dog car was it. So
I'm so glad I asked. We might have to go around and ask people about their pets and their cars. Anybody have any comments for Tom? Bob, I saw that. I was going to say I saw the finger. Bob, please go ahead.
Question for Tom. Do you think they're going to be successful at reducing the price point? Because I completely agree with you. The ones I've seen are right now are priced at like 350, which is way too high for the public. What are they going to do to be able to drop that price point?
I think a lot of it's coming down to just competition. As soon as you have competition, you're going to price point drop. So when you start talking about the autonomous vehicle, there are competition out there. Those competitions are basically going at different mechanisms of how they're actually implementing grid fence, not grid fenced, camera, et cetera. I think the same thing's going to happen with the taxis. And you're even seeing the private air come down. So anybody who's actually looked at taking a private jet lately, it's about $1,000 a person. When you think about what you're going to pay on commercial, it ain't a whole lot more than that, depending upon where you're going. So competition is driving the cost down, and I think that's going to continue.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Simon, you look like you had something to say. Any thoughts on that? No, you're good? Okay, he's saving himself. Anybody else? We all good? Thank you, Tom. Very, very interesting. And let's go to Brenna next. And Brenna, I'll read your intro here. From childhood dreams of a city so grand to shaping urban tech with a skilled, steady hand, Brenna's a leader in data. Her vision is keen as she transforms Chicago to its rightful sheen. With city tech's drive and a passionate stride, her bridged innovation with cities worldwide. Now a consultant, she continues to sow how AI and data help urban life glow. I hope you like that, Brenna.
I like that one.
Oh,
I've saved
good.
over the years, Bonnie. That one was good.
I'm very, very glad. We like a seal of approval here. Okay, I'm putting you on speaker view. Let's have your predictions and take your time. We're way ahead of time. Go ahead.
Great. So my first prediction is about municipal government. I think that we're already seeing the adoption of AI. That won't surprise anyone. But I think we're finally going to see the sort of evolution or transformation of AI to drive policy, not just efficiency. So an example would be moving from, delivering food stamps quickly and efficiently to actually using AI to try and solve food insecurity. So that's a big move for cities, which requires not only technical prowess that some of them are developing, but also a different way of thinking about how policy is developed, evaluated, and then reinvested in. But it's an exciting opportunity. My second one is something I feel more about as a mom of two teenage boys, as opposed to in my professional life. It's my hope that we start to see a sort of adoption of AI as an education support tool in K through 12 education, as opposed to what seems to be the norm now, with it viewed as a barrier or a mechanism to cheat. Because my kids come home and they ask, how do I use AI to help me do something? How do I use AI to make something better? Not how do I use AI to write the paper so I don't have to? And I'm hoping that, so more of a hope than a prognostication, that schools catch up with where their students are around the role that AI can play as a support mechanism.
That's for your kids. There you go. Okay. That's cheers for your kids for asking the right question. Go ahead, Brenna.
They get it right some days when they're not 6, 7. My third one is around democracy, small d democracy. So don't worry. But I think we're going to see AI, and we're seeing this in small ways, beginning to help communities and government really work together to reflect what constituencies want. Right? We live in a world sort of yesterday where your mechanisms for getting input from the public were listening sessions, maybe surveys, the ability to only sort of touch a small part of your constituency at a really static point in time, and not a way to really be flexible with how their needs change as you develop service models. AI is beginning to play a big role in changing the relationship between constituents, communities, and their local government, and the ability that they'll have to work together to deliver services that are really responsive to communities and what they need. There's some great examples of that in places like Boston and New York and San Jose. And then my last one is more on the startup side of my life. This one excites me as someone who has more of an economics background than a technical background. I think we're already starting to see founders coming from less technical backgrounds, who feel empowered by AI. Tom, this goes back to what you said about the efficiency and sort of leadership on the technical side coming from AI, the ability for business innovators to really take the helm of founding a startup because they can count on AI and a smaller technical team to develop that end of the business. And that excites me because I think that is a way that we will bridge some of the lack of diversity in the founder communities that we have today.
Thank you, Brenna. Brenna, any chance that you have a secret startup you're thinking about that you would like to share with us? Because we won't tell anybody.
You won't tell anyone.
Don is sworn to secrecy. Don, show the zip up the lip there. Don is.
Don would be the first person I would tell. He'd be my first phone call.
I know, but he won't tell anybody else, and I won't tell anybody else. So is there anything you want to share with us?
And unfortunately, I don't have one. I will tell you, I'm advising some awesome ones right now that I can't tell you how impressed I am at the sort of civic challenges that these companies are willing to take on, things from juvenile justice to emergency preparedness, and being able to build successful business models around what were traditionally viewed as sort of civic challenges that might not actually be enough to make a company go. So that's really exciting.
Thank you. I'm wondering, Simon, since you are the founder of a new startup, any comments to Brenna you want to share?
I think, to be honest, in terms of AI and new startups, new tech, am I the AI expert? I wouldn't say so, but I think it gives us so much leverage, and if you connect with the right experts, as I've done with my team, there is so much you can do. We're using it in the biodiversity space, of course, but it's crazy and it's mind-boggling what's happening in that space, and I'm really excited about the next steps with our company.
I like to hear AI and exciting in the same sentence. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any comments for Brenna? Are we good? Okay, and Brenna's going to she's going to come on and bring me the future of cities and AI. We'll set up a date for March. I would love to do that. It's been a while since we've talked about that, and it affects everybody everywhere, whether you're living in a city, whether you're trying to start a city, whether you're fleeing from a city, whether there's a city near you, whether your city isn't doing what it needs to do. I don't know anybody it wouldn't interest. So thank you, Brenna, very much. And let's go to Don. Okay, Don, here's your intro. I hope you like it. Last time you weren't so keen on it, but I hope you like this one better. From Georgia Tech halls, where bright visions took flight, Don set out to make businesses run right. With Rocket Wagon Labs, he's carved a strong name on boards and with startups. Don's guidance is his fame. Now, lab to lunch fuels the future he sees. Data and AI shaping smart cities with ease. A strategist, a futurist, infusing a fresh range. Don thrives where ideas spark lasting change. Don, how'd I do this time? You good?
You got like a 95 out of 100 on that. The only thing I would say, and although my students would laugh at that, the class I teach is called Lab to Launch, but I think a lot of them would think it's lab to lunch. So I'm good with that.
I thought I said launch. Okay, Don, thank you for being here. Don is in a conference room loaned to him by a client. He's at a conference right now, and I appreciate your commitment to the show, Don. I'm putting you on speaker view. Why don't you regale us with your predictions? Go ahead.
Sure. First of all, happy to be back. I'm going to start with a non-AI prediction, and then I'll go to my AI ones. This is probably a statement of the obvious, but my prediction is, of course, the Cubs will win the World Series this year. So,
okay,
I think we're good. I think everybody's in agreement with that. Okay, AI. So, number one, we're already seeing this, but we're going to see a massive move towards embracing agentic AI. I think that is a reflection of people beginning to understand the power of generative AI, but understanding the limitations in terms of putting actual work into effect. And so we're just going to see more and more of that. That will give way to the second prediction, which is going to be, I think we'll see an increase in low code and especially no code or zero code solutions. And I think one of the reasons for this is some of the big beneficiaries in business are leadership that see that their teams can lever up their productivity in massive ways. So the leaders who have no place in trying to write code themselves, because like me, they haven't written code in like 20 years, are like, hey, I want to get into this. And all of a sudden it's like, well, all these really smart people that are on my team are writing this incredible stuff, but I want to play around with it too. And all of a sudden it's becoming more and more and more accessible. It's like when Power Builder and Visual Basic came out, the whole goal of that was they made everybody capable of writing code by not having to write the code. The third prediction is that as a result of the movement forward of agentic AI, we're going to start to see a lot of a vast amount of specialized productivity agents that are just like macros that you can pull on an Excel spreadsheet. Only this is going to increase the scalability of these solutions in I think, a massive way. And then the last prediction I have is from an industry perspective. One of the industries that can benefit incredibly from isolated use of AI, but can benefit exponentially more by the combinatorial elements, thus agentic AI, is healthcare. And I think what we're going to see happening in healthcare as a result of the advances in AI are going to be spectacular and move at an incredible pace. And I guess the last thing you had said on your note is if there was anything that came up that was your kind of thing that you were noticing right now. I've had I added this 2 days ago when I was reviewing my notes, because in the last 4 weeks, actually, that's wrong. In the last 2 weeks, I've been in conversations with at least 3 or 4 people younger than me, more heads down into AI, but the younger than me doesn't really rule out a lot of people. More heads down into AI that are like vibrating in place about Claude Code. And what that represents is this like new step forward that has everybody buzzing. And I think it's a real deal. So those are my predictions.
Thank you very much. You were talking, Tom, 1 second, I'll get you. You were talking, Don, about maybe 20 years since you were coding. I was a programmer analyst back in the day. I'm still considered an early woman in tech. Brenna, I don't know if that was intended to age me or date me, but I still am honored to say that I was early to the game, not as early as Grace Hopper. But Don, what I was thinking was I became accidentally a marketing director for what we used to call a correspondent bank, back-end bank that took care of the savings banks of New York State, basically, New York State. And I remember something called WYSIWYG. And I was able to use a program called PageMaker, which came around, it exceeded the time span, I think, of Quark Express, which came after. But PageMaker was one of the rudimentaries. And without coding, we were able to design things like newsletters and brochures. And WYSIWYG was what you see is what you get. And I know there was probably quiet coding going on in the background that somebody dreamed up. But the thought on the street was anybody, I'm going to use a terrible word, everybody, even a secretary. Now it's admin, it's assistant, it's, engineer, whatever we want to call these wonderful people. But it was even a secretary could design your brochures, and that was all done. And imagine what AI has leapfrogged those skills to today. Imagine that. Yes, everybody's smiling. So I'm done with my philosophy here. Anybody want to comment to Don? I loved your comment about healthcare. Tom, please go.
So I think one of the things that he mentioned that I think is very interesting, and this is the time of year where we start doing between November through the first part of January, getting ready for kickoff and doing all the research and getting ready for our industry releases, et cetera. So I've had conversations with IDC, Forrester, Gardner, you go down the list. The studies from 25 basically vindict the studies of 24 in regards to AI. And that is, we have basically grown AI and genetic AI execution in production by over 100% one year over the other. But when you start talking about a single digit acceptance rate moving in, doubling it doesn't move the needle very much. So we went from roughly 6 to 8% in production to about 11 to 15% in production as of the end of 25. So I expect that, back to Don's point, that's going to continue to get better, as well as you're going to see more and more use cases that are actually being monetized.
Thank you. Don, anything you want to say back to
No.
Bob? Go ahead. Nothing? Okay. Bob wants to talk. Bob, what would you like to add?
Well, I know I saw an AMA report 2 weeks ago that said 43% of all physicians in the US use AI. I'm curious, when do you think, Don, that we'll see an actual robotic physician?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to weigh in that heavily on that. I mean, I know it's coming. I know that it's entering the surgical theater in various steps along the way, but I think it is coming. You know, it's just like autonomous, vehicles. It's gonna. I think it's gonna come in stages. It's not just going to be overnight. It shows up and permeates everything, but it'll probably come faster than most people think.
And hopefully it will be accurate and welcome and appreciated and
Yeah.
bring a new level to healthcare. Don?
I guess the one thing I would add to this is there's a great book by McAfee and Brynjolfsson called The Second Machine Age, and it talks about the combinatory elements of technology advancing the pace of innovation. And I think I was reading this great book, I forget the name of it, but it was on agentic AI. I think it was actually called Agentic AI. And it was using healthcare as an example about how people could use AI in isolation to do things in the realm of healthcare, but create disparate and disassociated outcomes that did more harm than good. And the point they were trying to make is that thoughtful orchestration of various agents that in essence replicate human beings collaborating together is sort of the holy grail of how AI can be rendered. And I believe that when you look at all the various elements that come together in healthcare, in terms of the research, in terms of the pharmaceuticals, in terms of the equipment, et cetera, that level of collaboration backed up by the AI, the enormous power of this technology can be overwhelming. And I am completely intrigued by the implications of it and what it can do, among other things, in terms of early disease detection and fatal disease remediation as this evolves. So I'm a student of it and just excited about it.
Hopeful. I would like to see AI get involved in dentistry and modernize the, shall we say, the cave level procedures that people have to go through. I would like to see there be a way to make different parts of healthcare and the administration of medications and all of those wonderful things. I would like to see those streamlined and humanized in some way, but that's just me wishful thinking. Anybody else have anything for Don? Are we good? Okay, Bob, you're rocking to some private music there. I want to know what you're listening to. Don't tell me. Let's go to Simon. You're next. I'm going to read your intro. From Munich's hum to his grandmother's farm, Simon learned resilience, grit, and a lot of charm. From London to Dubai, he has shaped grand design where business and nature seamlessly align. The founder of Nature Credits, Simon has set his mark, restoring biodiversity with science and AI spark. He partners with forests, land stewards, and teams to turn local care into measurable dreams. I hope you like that, Simon. How'd I do? Good?
Spot on. Thank you.
Oh,
Amazing,
good.
as
I'm
always.
glad. Okay. I'm putting you on speaker view. Let's hear your, and take your time. We are way ahead of schedule, kids. So just
Thank you so much.
go ahead.
So, of course, I'm bringing you some predictions from the biodiversity space and AI. These are actually infused with the discussions I have with our technicians, with our programmers every day, and with our scientists, of course, as well. So, two predictions. Number one is that AI will, in our minds, supercharge everything that's around satellites-based biodiversity monitoring. So all these pixels you see from space will be turned into ecosystem intelligence. We often think these satellites are those all-seeing eyes in the skies, and I think the more we move along on the time in time, the closer we are getting there. And the satellite data, actually combined with AI, is getting pretty good in identifying, for example, tree species. We're talking about canopy health. We are talking about biodiversity uplift that we're able to measure already in a positive sense, but also we can detect illegal deforestation and even wildlife movement from space. So that we can do with satellite data combined with AI. But the problem or the catch here is that you want to go under the canopy cover, so beneath the trees, into the undergrowth. And that's where this satellite signal, at least as still now, fades. There is some indirect data that you can use to think about biodiversity and ecosystem health, but actually underneath the canopy, that's where it gets a bit messy and also rich. There's birds, there's frogs, there's insects, and they're all crawling around on the ground and indicating how well the ecosystem there is doing. And with satellites, it's hard to see. So here is my prediction number 2. AI is again a game changer in that area because it will connect satellite data with actual boots on the ground sensors. So we're using different sensors, and those will reveal what's underneath those trees and exactly where those satellites go blind. So AI will, in my mind, bring together thousands of different ground level data streams. We're talking about acoustic sensors that are recording forest sounds. We're talking about camera traps. We're talking about even cars or smartphones held by hikers that are providing us data. And AI will turn these into our ears and eyes under the leaves, basically. So that's it. And make sense of this whole flood of data that's happening. AI will help us to identify those species. It will help us to flag any changes in the ecosystem. And what we will end up with is a kind of living and learning map of biodiversity that's actually in motion. So the full story is we have satellite data for biodiversity, and we will also have biodiversity data combined with AI on the ground, so we can not only see what's happening from above, but we can see through. We can see through the noise, through the trees, and through all the data fragments, and that will help us to make this world a bit of a better place. So that's what I'm working on.
One of the key words you said, Mark, 1 second. One of the key words you said, Simon, was learning. I think we're in the learning phase about AI. Am I right on that, everyone? It's still new, it's still fresh to us as where each of us is, where we all are in our careers and our lifespans. It's still something that is exciting, but we need to learn about it and understand it can be used for good. That's the point of my show here. AI positive. Go ahead, Simon.
First of all, AI positive, but also AI has to learn a lot. So
Yes.
We always discuss how much we have to train the LLM models to
Yes.
actually get the right results. So that's a big chunk of the day. That's
It's
a
mutual
big effort.
learning, and it's a collaboration. Okay, Mark, talk. You wanted to say something, please.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Simon, with regard to species, do you think that AI will allow the resurrection of extinct species, like both ones for which we have DNA and even more ancient ones for which we don't have DNA?
So we're talking about Jurassic Park here.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Mark's a writer. You know who you're talking to, Simon. Go ahead.
First of all, I mean, that's not the direction we are thinking right now at all. For us, it's more about measuring, about what's measuring and making sense about what's there. will we be able to resurrect any dead species? I think that's exactly that's material for sci-fi and fiction as of now, and I don't think so. My personal opinion.
Okay, I'm going to ask a favor from everybody because Don told me he's got to leave at a certain time. I know we're running ahead of schedule. I didn't do this before, but I want you all to just smile for me because I want to get a group picture so we don't have to keep anybody late. There we go. You know what I always do. Tilt your head to the right just to drop. And tilt your head to the left the other way so I can tell the pictures apart. Oh, you're all so wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, Don, that was an honor of you. Thank you very much, Simon. Very, very interesting. I'll tell you all a funny story about AI. I have a friend, I won't tell you who it is, but somebody close to my life here who owns a private plane and flies it back and forth from one state to the other for work. And he is thinking of selling the plane. And he's a what the heck could AI do for me kind of a person. Okay, he's an attorney, by the way, a corporate attorney. And the question was, well, what do you think you could learn about it? Well, this person used Gemini and said, I want to sell my plane. Help me write a letter to brokers who might be able to arrange for a good sale of the plane. And Gemini helped him write the letter, and he picked and chose what parts of the text he was sent he wanted and started sending it out. And it helped him find out his plane is worth a lot more money than he thought it was.
Sure.
But he's using Gemini on this not part of work, but part of life to get to work, which is an interesting extension of how do I go back and forth? Do I want to have my plane anymore? Just an interesting story. And he said, you know, Gemini was really, really cool. And I said, yes, I'm very happy you found out. But he found out at his own pace, at his own level, something that made sense to him. And I have to tell you all that Bob Ficken is a champion at sending me AI news. We're on text, we're text friends, and he sends me almost every day news about Don, about healthcare innovations in AI. And I get these little blurbs, Bonnie, you won't believe this. And they arrive in my text, in my messages. So I want to thank you, Bob. You're a great courier of information. Anybody have any more comments about that, or shall we move on? I think we're ready. Okay, Mark Morton is up next. Mark, I'm going to read your intro here. While kids played hockey in the street, Mark dove into books, a scholar's seat. From Shakespeare's lines to CBC, he's taught and traced how words shape history. Now fiction calls, Mark, dystopian skies with YA arcs and sharply articulated replies. Mark's driven to write what he cares about, fueled by curiosity's endless route. I had to rhyme about and route, Mark. So Mark, I hope you like that. Okay, Mark, I'm putting you on speaker view. Why don't you give us the writer's view, the history view, the teacher's view, whatever your POV is. Talk to us.
Sure. Well, unlike the predictions that we've heard so far, none of mine have any practical value, I think. But I think they're interesting. The first one is I'm really interested in seeing what AI will be able to do with ancient scrolls and tiny fragments of manuscript. Like we have some dozens, thousands of ancient scrolls which are so brittle that we can't even undo them. They're hundreds, thousands of years old. And I think AI, in conjunction with some sort of imaging technology, should be able, and we are doing this already, even before AI, but AI, I think, should be able to accelerate that and do a much better job at that. Basically, with these tiny fragments, you can have thousands of pieces and putting them together so that we have a whole manuscript again. And I think that'll contribute to, the culture of this planet. The next thing that I'm interested in is this. I mean, there's so much genealogical data that's available, from churches and various other things like that going way, way back. And anybody who's tried to do this, it takes a tremendous amount of time to sort through all these documents, these family history documents. But I think that AI should be able to really accelerate that too, because it can look at all this data, put it together. And, for somebody like me, I mean, my ancestors came to North America. I know who my great grandparents were, but beyond that, I have no idea. That's just been lost to time. And I think it'd be interesting to try to use AI to extract more information from that genealogical information. I don't mean DNA in that sense, but just, family histories. The other thing, I'm interested in languages, and scholars, for more than a century, um, they put together or they reconstructed something which is called Indo-European, like the source, the conjectured source of the languages of Europe and of India. And then they went one step further and came up with Proto-Indo-European, which pushes it even further back. And I think that AI should be able to, look at languages and push it even further back so that maybe we can get to a proto-proto language that is closer to the original language of humans, which probably goes back to Africa, of course, or Mesopotamia. So I think that'd be fascinating if those things could be accomplished.
Thank you very much. Let me go back to speaker view to everybody. Anybody have any comments for Mark about ancient civilizations and scrolls? Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about the types of books you write? I mentioned dystopian. I mentioned used to be a teacher. Bob is a college professor as well. Why don't you just spend a minute telling us a little bit about what your
Sure.
books are about, please?
Yeah, well, I actually retired as of January 1st from the university where I worked. And my last book was a YA dystopian novel, and that's what I want to keep writing, or is fiction anyway. But my first four books were nonfiction, and they tended to be about language, culture, and history. So one of them was about the origins of words pertaining to food. Another one was about how people at the ends of previous centuries celebrated or wrote about the ends of their centuries. Another one was about food culture in 16th century England. And what am I missing? Oh, yeah. The other one was about origins and histories of words pertaining to love and sex. But yeah, my
Everybody
memory
wants
is
to know where to buy that one. Go ahead.
that's the one that I never
At least
showed
a
my
couple
mom.
of us do. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, but I don't have the kind of memory anymore that would allow me to continue to write those kinds of nonfiction books. And I want to sort of stretch my imagination. So that's why I've switched over to writing fiction.
And is there an appetite in YA for dystopian novels? Is that a readership that says we want to know about sci-fi and other worlds and things that may or may not ever happen in our lifetimes? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, one might think that there might be a glut of that already. There's been so many dystopian novels for young adults and beyond adults, and so many series and movies. But it seems like it's still going strong. I mean, with regard to other things like vampire genre, for example, I think that kind of went to the wayside for a while. But dystopian literature and movies still seems to be going very, very strong. And that might be a reflection, of the tough times that the world is in right now. We want to, in most dystopian novels, not all, like 1984, for example, does not end happily, but most dystopian novels do end on some sense of things getting better.
I hope you're
And
giving kids something to look forward to.
yeah,
Okay.
some hope. Yeah.
All right, Tom. Tom saying, yeah, buddy, tell him, yes. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And let's go to our final speaker. It is Dr. Bob Ficken. And Bob, here we go. Everybody doesn't know too much about this about Bob. I'm going to tell you. Bob once walked the lawman's beats. Now he sparks minds in classroom seats. From deputy sheriff's badge to PhD acclaim, Bob blends ethics and learning in AI's name. He has flipped companies' AI bans to greenlit code, meaning they didn't want AI and now they do, guiding impactful change on innovation's road. With his justice roots and tech savvy might, Professor Ficken helps the future learn right. Bob, did you like that?
Pretty good, Bonnie.
Thank you very much. I worked hard on that. Sylvie didn't get involved in this. It was just me. I did these myself. Okay, Bob, you're on speaker view. Talk to us. What are your predictions?
Say hello to your avatar professor. So I think probably in the next 2 years, we will begin to see students being able to select the avatar of their choice to be their professor, even though it'll be the same entity behind it. That will guide them through their learning, but individualize it to each student. So I think, Brenna, you were talking earlier about K to 12. A lot of this will be in K to 12. I think it's going to be great. It's going to include everybody. We've done early tests that have shown that it works better for people on the autistic scale, for example, because we're looking at VR and things that can incorporate 4 or more senses at one time, and they can learn however they want to. So I think that's going to be pretty fantastic. We're already seeing some of that at work. Merritt College in Oakland already has an AI classroom that's 100% AI. So we're seeing some things like that. We're also seeing more educational tools added all the time that are AI LLM based, large language model based. Anthropic, OpenAI, Google are all releasing things like, let me see if I get the names here because I can memorize them. So, AI scientist, Socrat, Gradescope, and many others that are making it easier for teachers to manage classroom, to create assignments, to create lesson plans, and to do all those kinds of things. Now, the toss-up, and I'm not sure really yet which way this is going to go, is whether or not we're going to end up seeing a professor in the front of the classroom, or if all students will be able to just select their own avatar and go that way. Could go either way. We'll see what happens. You're pursing your lips, Bonnie. What's up?
I want to know if you were finished. I'm not interrupting you, am I? You still got more?
Go ahead.
I'm wondering, back in the day, we used to make gifts for our teachers or very low level, but homemade gifts. Like I used to make aprons for my teachers for Christmas gifts at Christmas time. So you'd bake something for them. How do you say thank you to an AI, to an avatar who has taught you for a semester? Do people still do that, or are there laws against that now? I don't know. Bob?
Well, the other good news, of course, is I'm gonna put this out there is I think we have finally turned the corner from universities and colleges banning AI to universities and colleges embracing AI. I think we finally have started to see that. More and more colleges are going that way. One sort of sad result, but it's for the best really, is that a lot of colleges are going in and streamlining their majors. Given this move towards an AI world, they're starting to eliminate degrees that really don't make sense
You mean
anymore.
basket weaving? You won't be able to get a basket weaving degree from University of Florida anymore?
No,
I didn't
sorry.
say it.
Should have got it last year.
I should have. Brenna was shaking her head
Yeah,
ardently. Go
I just
ahead.
I don't think it's moving that fast. And I've worked across a number of universities, certainly not a professor myself, Bob, like you are. But I think that there's a lot of policy work going on at the administrative level and zero adoption work going on at the actual execution level. Maybe not zero, but I think that a lot of universities, or a lot of professors, right, actual teachers are still pushing back on what might even be established policy at their institution.
Interesting. Bob, you mentioned the AI only. Mark, 1 second, I'll get you. Bob, you mentioned AI classroom. What is that all about? AI all?
Well, there are some schools like Merritt in Oakland that are trying it out right now to see how AI can do by itself. It runs the classroom, it handles all the assignments. Someone had to write the prompts and things like that to get it to work the right way. But it essentially teaches using AI. It's AI interactive. The students can access it by voice, by typing, and it runs them through all of the program for the entire year in school.
And is this something that each student has a headset and they're seeing it or hearing it, or is this on a screen in the classroom? Is this a group learning?
There's both. They can group learn and they can always use the same avatar. They can use different avatars and learn individually. And, it's kind of interesting because in some countries in the world that are more receptive to new technology, and I'm sure Tom's probably seen some of this, in like Korea and Japan, they already have like robot police officers and robot, hair and robot, everything. So, it's moving that way. I certainly agree with Brenna that it's gonna be a different timetable, and I really think it's part of the timetable is going to be geographic across the U.S. because the coasts are much faster to adopt technology than the middle of the country. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see, how fast it moves. I think this last summer, I know I shared an earlier show that 40,000 K-12 teachers were taught by Anthropic and OpenAI and other tech companies how to bring AI into their classroom. That's really a drop in the bucket, but I think that's going to continue to prepare teachers for that. And certainly, I think that, it's going to go a long way towards engagement, which is something that teachers look for in every classroom. And it's difficult to measure and it's difficult to get. It's difficult getting the workforce to get them all engaged. But when you talk about engagement, one of the reasons that that'll happen is because when you start to use all these different medias, AI and VR goggles and things like that, instead of teaching using two or fewer senses like we have for the last 100 years in K-12, we're going to be using AI goggles and things like that that can actually impact 4 or more human senses at one time, which more than doubles retention in our
Wow.
test from the 30 percentile to the 70 percentile. So that means that the students in the future are going to be much more engaged in their learning process, and they're going to retain it all much better, which is going to make them more engaged, more intelligent, and all those things. So
Make
it's
it
going to be
not boring, right, Bob? Make it exciting.
well,
Yeah.
and I think it's actually going to create some jobs in education because I don't think teachers have time, but someone's going to have to come in and create an individual learning plan for every student.
There you go. I want to
Yeah,
make sure we
so
go ahead, Don.
now the only thing I would say is if you think about what the outcomes of universities should be, it's preparing the students to enter, the world based on the education. The world they are going into is just AI all over the place. So universities need to lean into helping their students learn with
Yes.
AI as an assistant to that process. And I think the smart ones are doing that. But as Brenda said, there's a cultural impasse that has to be overcome in some universities more than others, but it's coming.
Becoming citizens of the AI world and community. Mark, I think you had something to say.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, you mentioned near the beginning of what you were saying, Bob, avatars, and I think what I'm getting from what you're saying is students having the choice of what kind of personality or approach, pedagogical approach that a given avatar would have. My question, though, is to what extent is the avatar that a student would choose necessarily the same as the avatar that would be most effective? And the analogy I'm
Ooh.
thinking of is,
Ooh.
when somebody goes to a gym and starts lifting weights, they tend to start using the weights that they least need to. Like they tend to focus on muscle groups that they already have strong because that's easiest. When really they should be focusing on the stuff that is much harder. So yeah, I'm just wondering about that student choice versus what is most effective for them.
Interesting. Bob, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, Mark. I mean, there's a couple of concerns. I mean, for example, if you end up with avatars or robots or whatever running classrooms, what happens to things like mandatory reporting requirements? And things like that. There are some sticky wickets out there that'll have to be addressed. But yeah, I think, maybe there'll have to be some guidelines around avatars. I mean, I don't think that a school necessarily wants to see, Snoop Dogg in there teaching somebody how to do English or whatever. But, there's probably be some guidelines as to what avatars are acceptable, you know,
Interesting.
or they all within that particular learning environment.
Could be
But
characters from favorite TV shows, Bob. They could pick if they could design their own avatar. I'm looking at the clock. We have just a couple minutes left. This is a great conversation. I was hoping we would get to this point. Anybody else have any interesting comments about education? Simon, you've got a very, very young child at home. Adam, who comes on the show from time to time, adorable Adam. Any thoughts about Adam's education in an AI world? Quickly. Well, unmute, unmute, unmute.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think what I found quite interesting is like you can get AI write individualized stories for the little kids. So with specific lessons, with something maybe tied to your family. So it's a good night story that has basically the right length Yeah. Should it be 5 minutes? Should it be 10? Should it be 15? Maybe it should include grandma and granddad with the right names. Maybe you want there's a specific lection learning you want to teach them. So you can individualize that. And that I think is quite exciting actually.
It actually is. Listen, I want to go around the table quickly and find out what was each of you, your favorite drink over the holidays. I know it's January 21st, but I still want to know. Mark, you're in the top left corner for me right now. What was your favorite drink over what we think was the holidays 3 weeks ago? Go.
Well, I wouldn't drink this all the time, but around the holidays, it's something I like to make. It's from the 16th century. It's called a caudle, Caudle, and it's sort of a precursor of eggnog, except that it contains oatmeal. And then it's spiced with cinnamon and ginger, and you also put ale into it.
Ale. Okay. Brenna was thinking the name sounded interesting, and then she went, when she heard oatmeal, the smile went upside down to a frown. Thank you. Tom, Mr. Christmas chef, Mr. Wonderful aficionado in the kitchen. Tom, what were you drinking over the holidays?
Most of everything is non-alcoholic, but eggnog, out of the carton.
Okay, there you go. The good stuff is the good stuff. Simon, what were you drinking?
I mean, we were taking some time on the beach, so for me it was a cold beer in the evening, which was amazing in this case.
Okay, you want to tell us a brand, your favorite brand of beer? You're allowed to say.
No, I'm not doing brands. All
Okay,
good.
okay, that's fine. Don, what were you drinking?
Guinness Manhattan. My son came over, and when we were all together, he came out with this Guinness-based Manhattan, which I thought was going to be terrible, and it was actually quite good.
Okay, we want the recipe. Brenna, what were you drinking?
My favorite part about the holidays is Koval Cranberry Gin, which is a Chicago-based distillery, and you can do any number of things with it. Most often, I just make a spritz with it, right? A little bit of dry sparkling wine and one floating cranberry, and it looks festive and it's delicious.
Ooh, I like that one floating cranberry. Bob, what were you drinking?
Hot apple pie, 1 part Tawaka, 2 parts apple cider. Warm it up, put it in a warm mug, top it with whipped cream, and stir it with a cinnamon stick.
There you go. And I was drinking homemade hot cocoa made with dry Hershey's, Hershey's. The dry cocoa without the sugar. Put a little in a mug, add a little bit of sugar, whatever your sweetener is, a little bit of water, make a paste, add your half milk, half water, microwave to the right temperature. In the meantime, take a little pewter a handled creamer pitcher, something with a little pour spout, put it in the freezer for about 3 minutes and let the metal get absolutely cold. Then take a frothing wand, put your heavy cream into it, a little sprinkle of cinnamon, couple of grains of sugar, any other flavoring you want, and then whisk the whipped cream in the cold little container, and then spoon a little bit of the whipped cream on top of the hot chocolate, and a spoonful and a sip, and there you go. And that was my favorite. Once in a while, a jigger of rum, but I won't admit to that. I want to thank all of you so much for being here. This has been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate all of you. I wish you a happy, you know what? Larry David said on Curb Your Enthusiasm, you're not supposed to say Happy New Year after January 7th. So I'm 14 days late, but we scheduled this show before, so I can still say it. So Happy New Year, wishing you all a respite from what I call the chaos and the cacophony. And those of you watching, I have a brand new show called Say What? You all know what Say What is. Good News with Bonnie D. And it's every weekday morning or afternoon. Yesterday, we had no internet. I tried it on my hotspot from my phone. It came out jaggy. I deleted it on 5 platforms, and I did it in the afternoon when we had Spectrum was happy to come back, and I appreciate that. So there you go. And today I got it down to 2 minutes and 50 seconds total with 2 good news items. So I hope you all watch. I'm going to play the Say What music to go out, and everybody wave goodbye, and we'll go. Here we go. Can you hear that? I want you to dance. There you go. Let's dance.
Good news.
A homemade mug. My TV show with something to talk about. And now it's Say What? Magic markers on a mug. They don't come off. Thank you all. Hugs and kisses to everybody. I appreciate you. We all come back with new topics for this year, okay? Hit play. Good news. Let's lift that mood. Come on. Good people doing what they do. Good news. Feel that smile coming through. This is my Suno Singers. You know what that is. This proves for you.
Say what?
There we go. Everybody wave goodbye. Bye, social. We'll see you again